My name is Susan Kidd, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Sustainability at Agnes Scott College. And I'm not very good at sports analogies, but I think our last speaker and I probably feel like the batter when the bases are loaded and it's the bottom of the ninth. Did I get all that right? Good. Okay, good. Ray Anderson would be proud of me. We are just going to tell you two last simple stories and send you on to the next session. What I've been asked to do is, my assignment is two things. One is to talk very briefly about Agnes Scott's connectivity to the climate project, and I think in doing that, I'm speaking for the other partners as well, and then to introduce our final speaker, our student, Brittany Judson. In terms of the climate project, so Agnes Scott College set out on what I would now call, again in response to my friend and colleague Ray Anderson, Mount Climate Action. Along with Mount Sustainability a few years ago, about 10 years ago, we set out to do that. We have a climate action plan now with a goal of being climate neutral by 2037. And we've been, for the last 10 years, really pursuing that goal. So we've been setting out to work on reduction through community conservation, through energy efficiency with a green revolving fund, and through the tough job of renewable energy on campus. And we have so not done that alone. I get to be a spokesperson for the college partners today, but so many colleges and universities have come both before and with us. Literally all the organizations and so many individuals in this room have been partners with Agnes Scott for this 10 years. And so climate neutrality is within our sights because of you. And that's where the Georgia Climate Project came in for us. So when we're asked to be a partner, we really do have to stop and think. We're small. We have less than 1,000 students at Agnes Scott, all women, 130 years old, over in Decatur with 100 acres. So we have to think about every partnership. We don't ever want to agree until we know that we can do it. And Daniel knows we had to take a minute to think this through on campus. And then we came back very strongly and said, this is a partnership we can and must do. The Georgia Climate Project is so important. We need a place, we need a home base. Ooh, second baseball. We need a home base for research, for best management practices, for educational opportunities for our students that's shared across what used to feel like boundaries. And I think in the time I've been in my job, the boundaries of colleges and universities and local governments have opened up to climate action and climate resilience. So that partnership is critical with all the work we do, and we are very grateful to the Georgia Climate Project being initiated by its founders, and to this conference today being initiated by them, and for Agnes Scott to even have a small role in today. So thank you. So just as partnerships are critical, and one of the things that we can easily see, lesson learned, has made our work for climate action work, so are students. We've been really fortunate at Agnes Scott that partly because our budget is small, we have made students be our employees in so many ways. Students do our greenhouse gas inventory. A student wrote our climate action plan, all with support and help with technical advisors like you and within our campus, but students do a lot of our work. And what that's made me realize, and really the most important thing I wanted to share with you today as I introduce Brittany, is that that's reversed my thinking. Like, all of us in the room would see ourselves, whether you're staff and faculty or whether you work somewhere else in this field, as teachers when we get to a certain point in our careers and in our experience. But I've turned that around now, and the students are my teachers. Thank you. And the place where there are dozens of examples, and don't worry, we're all ready for a break, so I won't list those, but one area I just have to mention is in equity and justice. So I knew by definition the importance of those two things, those pillars of sustainability. There is no climate action without climate justice, but I have watched it lived and taught by students in a way that has made it much more real for me, and I hope you all get that same opportunity that I have had during this conference and in the future. For our students, this is the center of what they're doing. People are the center of what they're doing, justice is at the center of what they're doing, and equity is at the center of what they're doing. And I'm so grateful to have learned that lesson. So now I get to introduce one of my teachers. Brittany Judson is a senior at Agnes Scott. She's majoring or working and studying in math and economics. She transferred to Agnes Scott last fall. Seems like longer. You've gotten so much done. And she's a proud community college graduate from her hometown in Florida and a first-generation college student in her family. She had a break between that community college and coming to Agnes Scott, where she worked in Eugene, Oregon with local nonprofits, but then really importantly snagged an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Fellowship with the City of Eugene's Office of Sustainability. And that was part of the Urban Sustainability Directors Network, a very important network nationwide. So currently, Brittany works in our office on climate resilience, the plan we're doing with the City of Decatur, and she also works at Cherry Street Renewables, Cherry Street Energy, where she does the rate analysis for their renewable energy clients. So please welcome Brittany Judson to the stage.
Good morning. I rarely wear heels, so I'm really glad I made it up on the stage without falling. So I wanted to start with a story. It was actually around the same time last year, right after I had finished my fellowship before I transferred to Agnes Scott College, that I was at a conference with the Urban Sustainability Directors Network. And part of the reason why we were there, me and the other fellows, were to talk about our work and hopefully to inspire people about the importance of racial equity, diversity, and inclusion within the field of sustainability. And walking into the conference room, I remember feeling overwhelmed because it was about 3 times this amount of people, all local government, municipalities, directors, managers, and their sustainability offices, and the majority of the room was white. And that was something that was very tough for me to come to terms with, was this feeling of, do I belong here? Am I meant to be in this space? Will our values be heard, any of us up on the stage? But I think I left there feeling like I do belong here, we are all valid, and it's important that this work is continued when we talk about racial equity and diversity. And through my time in the field of sustainability, I've learned a lot about access and opportunity, racial equity, a sense of othering and belonging, and then what that looks like in practice. And so I first wanted to talk about access versus opportunity. When I think about access, I think about mentors. Many of us have had mentors in our life, have mentors right now, and it's the idea that someone gives you the tools and the guidelines to do well in the field or the work that you want to do. So I give you a tool set and you can go fix your car, right? But opportunity is about bringing that person to the next level. So after I've given you the tools, am I taking you to the people that you need to meet? Am I bringing you to the table? Am I making space so that way your voice can be heard, much less than my voice? And when I reflect on the people in my life who've given me opportunities, they have been not just mentors, but sponsors of my work. They've given me the tools and the guides, and then they took me to the people. You need to meet this person, you need to try this conference, I want to pay for your way to go to this place. And I think that's really important when we talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion. We all don't start on the same page, and I think we need to meet people where they're at and figure out what needs they have and ask those questions and be willing to be vulnerable if we expect them to want to be at the table and to feel welcome at the table. And I think some of the best sponsors that I've had in my life have also been my role models in what I want to try and do in the field of sustainability, which is to create those spaces for people of color, for young women, for low-income communities. And whenever I see the work that they do, I see that they started it. Like the most diverse offices that I see are started by women and people of color. So when I learned about the energy equity issue of Atlanta, which was mentioned in the last video, it was something that resonated with me because I struggled with bills, or my family struggled with bills growing up. We're a working class family. We had the lights in the water shut off plenty of times. I had to go shower at a neighbor's house. And I knew that this was something that I could feel comfortable in because I had experienced it. And my lived experience was a competency and a qualification that's not necessarily visible on a resume. So I wanted to create a space for young people, particularly young women of color, to learn the skills in the field of energy efficiency, retrofitting, advocacy, and education. So I created in January the Atlanta Youth Energy Corps. And we're a group of young people, particularly students, but I'd like to branch out past students in the future, who have done a lot of work since January. We have completed a retrofit with the help of Agnes Scott College, and that was a simple retrofit where we did some caulking on some windows, we air sealed, we installed a weather strip, we got a cool fancy thermostat. We have participated in the Carbon Reduction Challenge with Georgia Tech, and we won an honorable mention and some funding to help continue the work. And we are in discussion with multiple nonprofits and community partners to see how we can really branch out past Agnes Scott, which has been kind of like our learning lab. We'd like to take this out into the community and ensure that at every step of the way, this is something that is for the community, with the community, and in the community. And I want to emphasize the with the community part, because that means that if we want to enter spaces, we have to recognize that we aren't necessarily always welcome in spaces and have to make space and step back if we want that work to continue. So whenever you think about what equity looks like in this field, I want to emphasize the idea of othering and belonging. I think that's a representative of the human condition. We are people, and we love other people, and we want to feel like we belong wherever it is that we go. It sucks to feel like you don't belong, to feel othered. So that concept, I think, directly ties to the idea of racial equity, that triple bottom line. You have to be willing to ask yourself, have I othered somebody else implicitly or explicitly? Do I feel like I belong? Have I made others feel like they belong? And in that, I think we can really walk out of this minimizing the risk for Georgia and maximizing the future, not only for everybody in this room, for the people who are not here today. So I thank you for your time, and I hope that this conference really shines a light on not just sustainability and climate change in Georgia, but a sense of how we can make this a belonging and we community. Thank you.